In this episode, I show you how to do a real budget with real numbers.
I go beyond the philosophy, and I give you real life application. I am Coach Nino Villa.
So now you may be asking yourself, what is a budget? A budget is simply a plan for your money. And we've all heard the old adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I think John Maxwell said it best when he said a budget is simply telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. That's all great in theory, but I'm about the practicality. So what does it all mean? It means sitting down every single month to determine your income. What money do you have coming in and when is it coming in? And taking a look at every single expense, and I mean every expense, from your rent or your mortgage all the way down to your daily trip through the drive-thru for that morning cup of coffee. We need to know how much your expenses are and when those expenses need to be paid. So let's not just talk about it, let me show you how it's done. First things first, I use Google spreadsheets for my monthly budget. Now you could use Excel or you could simply write this down on paper. And if you like my format, I'll make it available to you. All you gotta do is hit me up in the comments. Now I have mine a little bit pre-formatted, but I'll be sure to cover every category with you in greater detail. And I have to be honest, my budget didn't always look like this. It wasn't until I met Dave Ramsey and started reading The Total Money Makeover and started to apply his principles that I was able to get my budget to look like this. So if you're new to budgeting, don't be overwhelmed, but this is a pretty simple format, and I think you're gonna find it really user-friendly. Let's start back at the beginning. Like I said, we need to know how much money we have coming in, and we need to know when it's coming in. And so I know in the month of March, I have 2 pay periods, on the 6th and on the 20th. Now that I know what I have to work with, the very first rule of budgeting is every single dollar is going to get an assignment. The second rule of budgeting is that we're going to pay everything either on time or early. And the third rule of budgeting is to prioritize. I strongly suggest that you list your expenses in the order of priority. See, if you don't prioritize things like food or gas for the car, you're going to get to the end of the budget, realize that you've run out of money, and you're going to turn to credit cards to go to the grocery store or to put gas in the car. And what a vicious cycle to pay a credit card just to then use it again at the end of the month, to then pay it, to then use it, to then pay it. Stop that vicious cycle and prioritize food and gas for the car higher than credit cards. So rule number 1, every dollar gets an assignment. Rule number 2, everything gets paid on time or early. And rule number 3, prioritize. Your number 1 might look different than mine, but the first thing I'm doing, my number 1 priority, is to give. My second priority is saving and investing. Now I'm following Dave Ramsey's baby steps, and baby step number 1 is to have a small emergency fund of $1,000 in place. Baby step number 2 is to pay off all your debt. Since I'm in baby step number 2, I'm not saving much, if anything, right now until I'm out of debt. So after giving and saving, then we're looking at monthly expenses. And here's where, again, I would urge you to prioritize. First, take a look at your necessities, then look at your non-necessities, and then look at debt. So the first thing that we budget for is our groceries. We also include toiletries and a separate fund for baby when we go to the grocery store. So we budget $400 a month in groceries, $100 a month in toiletries, and $150 per month for baby supplies like formula, diapers, wipes, that sort of thing. Now, your food category might look a little bit different. You might not have a baby fund. It might be more, it might be less. The next category, housing, this is where you're going to account for your rent or mortgage. You're also going to account for your homeowners association if you have one, and any type of renter's insurance or homeowners insurance would also be covered in this category. Now, our monthly mortgage payment is $785, which actually includes our homeowner's insurance as part of the escrow payment. So I don't need to account for that separately. And then we have our homeowners association. Next are some more necessities, your utilities. You can't get out of paying those, and so we're going to budget for those accordingly. Now again, your utilities category might look different than mine. I only have electric, I don't have gas. You might have gas. And then of course I have water and trash removal. You may have other utilities, you may not have these utilities. If you're a renter, maybe some of those are paid for you. The next category we're going to take a look at is transportation. In most cases, this category is going to include your auto loan. Now, my wife and I, we've paid off our car, so we don't have a car note, and so we wouldn't include that here. So what we do account for is our car insurance, what we budget for gas, oil, and regular upkeep, and then we also have a line item for registration and admissions. That only happens once a year, but I like to have it there just as a reminder that, oh, I got to take care of registration and admissions. So your transportation category might look a little bit different. Maybe you take public transportation, and so this is where you would account for something like a bus pass. Now in our household, the next important item is insurances. And so there are a core set of insurances you should have. You should have health insurance. You should have auto insurance, renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance. You should have life insurance, and you should have long-term disability insurance. For my family, the health insurance and the long-term disability insurance is taken care of by my employer. The homeowner's insurance, like I said earlier, is taken care of by the mortgage. So the only other insurance that we have to think about paying on a monthly basis is auto insurance, which was in the transportation category, and our life insurance premiums. And so here we're going to budget for those for the month. And as you can see, our premiums on life insurance are relatively low. So if you do not have life insurance, I would strongly encourage you to think about getting it because it's a really good, reasonable buy. Protection for you, for your family, at relatively low monthly premiums. And so for me and for my family, that is our necessities categories. Our necessities are made up of food, housing, utilities, transportation, and insurances. When we get down to this category titled bills and subscriptions, in our world, these are non-necessities. In other words, to us, these are luxuries. Things we don't absolutely have to have, but they're nice to have around. And so we're going to budget for those as well. Now, a lot of these are fixed expenses. I know exactly what they're going to be from month to month, but some of these expenses may change from month to month as well. And that's why it's important to sit down and do a brand new budget every single month. So after the non-necessities, we take a look at entertainment and recreation. And this category for you guys might look extremely different than my wife and I. So we've decided that she gets some pocket money, I get some pocket money, and we pay the kids a commission. So the pocket money is where things like going through a drive-through or going to a movie or going out to dinner, this comes out of our pocket money. And for you, you may budget differently for restaurants or for a night out or for movies. And so your entertainment category can be as big or as little as you want it. My wife and I decided to keep it really small. We get the pocket money, and then the pocket money takes care of things like going out to dinner and getting little treats here and there. So after the entertainment and recreation category, we're taking a look at debts. Now, my wife and I have been able to pay off almost all of our debts except for the student loans, aside from the mortgage. And so here we have an itemized list of her student loans, my student loans. the minimum monthly payments associated with those, and the balance is left. And so here we are going to actually pay the minimum on every one of her loans except for the smallest loan, because we're going to throw as much extra money at that loan as possible to get it paid off earlier, and that's how we get through the debt snowball, which is baby step number 2 of Dave Ramsey's plan. And once we're out of debt, we free up all of that money to then be saved and invested for other things like building wealth. So we're going to pay the minimum monthly payment on each one of her student loans except the smallest. And then down here at the bottom, I have a running total of income of $4,204.18 minus the outgo, all of our expenses. And you'll see that currently we have $855 left over. Well, like I said, I'm going to send more than the minimum monthly payment to her smallest loan. And so actually what we have here now, with the car being paid off and some other loans being paid off, we have a new minimum monthly payment that we send to the smallest student loan, and that is $606.57. Well, if I plug that number in over here, you'll see that there's still $248.88 left at the end of the month. And I told you that rule number 1 was we're going to give every single dollar an assignment. So the first thing we would do is take a look at the miscellaneous category and determine if there's anything in the month that we need to buy for. Are there gifts for birthdays coming up? Is there an anniversary coming up? And is there a holiday that we need to prepare for or buy for? And so we go to the miscellaneous category first and start to list out each item individually that we need to buy for in that particular month. In this particular case, we don't have any additional expenditures in that month, but we do want to save up for a few car repairs. And so you'll see that I have this car repair replacement sinking fund. And so I could decide to save all $248 into that fund, or I could choose to just save a portion of that into the fund. Well, as you'll see over here, we currently have $48.16 saved into this particular fund, and we have a goal of $70 because we want to get an alignment after putting new tires on the car. And so I just need to save the difference for this particular month. And so the difference would be simply taking that number and subtracting that number. And so I'm going to put $21.84 into my car repair replacement sinking fund so that I get to my goal of 70, so that I have more than enough money to go get an alignment on the car because we just put new tires on the car. That takes me down to $227.04. And so I'm actually going to add that amount to the minimum monthly payment that I am sending to the smallest student loan. And so we're going to pay down that debt pretty quickly when we're sending $833.61 to that loan that currently has a balance of $3,236. Now that I've taken a look at the overall month, and I know exactly what's coming in, and I know exactly what's going out, all the way down to the penny, now it's about going to each pay period and determining when these things are due and when they're getting paid. And so when we give, we simply split that each pay period. I will come back to the car repair replacement sinking fund savings because I know I want to take care of all these other things first and determine what pay period it's going to be best to pull that money from. So each time we get paid, we simply take out half of what is budgeted for the groceries, toiletries, and baby fund. Like I said, rule number 2 is we're going to pay everything on time or early. So I don't get paid until the 6th of March. Well, I'm not going to wait until the 6th to pay my mortgage, which is due on the 1st. So it's going to be paid with the last pay period in February. So we're going to do the same thing in March. In the last pay period of March, we are going to pay April 1st's mortgage payment. Same thing with the homeowners association. The electric, water, and trash are due more of the middle of the month, so they'll get paid with the first paycheck. Same thing with the auto insurance. The gas and oil is split equally. The life insurance premiums are on opposite ends of the month. So one gets paid early, the other one gets paid later. And then most of these other expenditures are either beginning or middle of the month type of expenditures. And so we are going to schedule those payments accordingly. The recreation money gets split up equally amongst the pay periods. And then you'll see down here at the bottom, I have a running total of each pay period. So see how I have more money in the first pay period left over than in the second pay period. Well, that's the biggest reason why. The mortgage is being paid with the second paycheck. So as you can see down here at the bottom, I have a running total of what's left over after the income from the pay period and the expenditures for that particular pay period. So I'm just going to scroll right back to the top. I'm going to take $21.84 out of the first paycheck so that we can get the alignment done sooner rather than later. I'm going to send the minimum monthly payments to all of the student loans with the first paycheck of the month. As you can see, I want to make an $833 payment, so I can either hold on to this money and make it all at once, or I like to just pay it right away. So I'll split that payment up. I'll send them $407, which is far greater than the $35 minimum monthly payment, so they'll be happy. And then I'll send another payment with the second paycheck to total the $833.61 that we're planning to pay. So there you have it, my real monthly budget with my real numbers. And it really is just that simple. So now it's your turn. Question time. Tell me, why do you think people don't do a monthly budget? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you found this video to be helpful, make sure you like it. If you think it would help somebody else, be sure to share it. And no matter what you do, please subscribe. I think the number one reason people don't do a budget is because they think it's restrictive. I think people believe that they can't have nice things or do the things they want to do when they're on a budget. And that's just simply not true. It's about telling your money where to go. It's about telling your money what it's going to do. And so if you want to tell your money to go on vacation, tell your money that you're going on vacation. If you want to tell your money to buy you a nice steak dinner, tell your money to do that. But tell it to do it. Be proactive. Have that vision and that foresight. Don't be reactive. Don't go back through your bank statement and wonder, what did I spend this money on?